remove words from people's, I guess, lexicon. It's, I guess, admirable that she's just trying to do a voluntary campaign, trying to change social norms.
As was said on Jezebel, they'll send you to girl jail.
Yeah. But it also kind of reminds me of the Ministry of Truth, where they try to ban certain words that will never be used again. Why use the word bossy? So, of course, her thoughts on bossy is that it desensitizes young girls from taking leadership positions. She feels that it's a negative word that's attached to it that's labeled, I guess, specifically onto girls. They say that the cultural norms is to call a girl who takes charge, is proactive, to call her bossy, whereas a young child, a male, for example, they call him a leader. And that's the position she takes. And she feels that it's just a detriment to, I guess, the growth and development of young girls to achieving a proactive life, to ban this word, to stop using it, to stop, I guess, pretty much name calling. I mean, she might as well just say stop name calling each other instead of going for one specific word that caters for one gender, right? It should be all genders, regardless of, what's between your legs, that we shouldn't be, name calling to that specific degree, especially to children.
And for the most part, when I hear that the aggressive tendencies of boys, and that's what they kept harping on, boys are aggressive and that's okay, but if I may extemporize a sort of vague psychological study thing, when they talk about the reason boys feel the need to be aggressive is because they're not taught ways to use their words. So let's ban another word, let's make them resentful, take that away from them.
I mean, where do you think that if they do use these words, where do you think they pick it up from? All right, it's not like they're born with a dictionary. They're picking
on my
up the
playground,
cues.
they were using another B word,
Yeah.
So we were a very proactive sort of school.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was given crap for being too verbose as a kid by my peers, by my female peers. They didn't say verbose. They said, you talk too fancy, or other small town bullshit like that. So, this is making me particularly resentful that, the almost 1984-esque removal of words would be something they think would be a good tagline for a campaign. Yeah. And maybe it's just a bad tagline, because recently there have been campaigns about words like retarded and gay, and, those haven't said, ban it. They've just been like, there are so many wonderful alternatives. It's been like a Dr. Seuss book, and not like a, iron fist, let's, wipe this from the records with our, Sharpies and sashes. Yeah.
Have you ever experienced anyone calling you bossy?
No, they went straight for more vulgar terms.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, girls do get crap in grade school for being too intelligent. I saw that happen to quite a few girls who were, too smart. And it happens, okay? But it's stuff we move beyond.
And I've never been called a leader when I was a kid. I've never seen a teacher call the boys leaders and girls bossy. Never seen it happen. Never actually seen a girl be called bossy when I was growing up in the 12 years of my indoctrination experience in these public school settings.
But look where you ended up.
Well, again, the leaders that we need today are role models, right? If you want to help these children and to achieve this lifestyle, being proactive and being assertive of themselves, then you lead by example, not by telling what you can and cannot do, right? It could, creating this kind of aura of negativity against. If you ever use this word, or for example, curse words, for example, there's a lot of that going on where it's frowned upon. From saying some words, it kind of reminds me of George Carlin's the 7 words you can't say on TV, which is shit, fuck, piss, cunt, motherfucker, cocksucker, and tits. Got it.
Nice. Everybody has the strangest boner now.
I know, right? So, they're just words. Just, again, words. We'll talk more about what you should be, I guess, instilling instead. But you look at the website that they have. What is it called? Lean In. It's a nonprofit organization that they have.
I'm leaning now, everybody. Just leaning.
Yeah. So on the website, it's interesting to note they'll have in quotes on the front page, when a little boy asserts himself, he's called a leader. Yet when a little girl does the same, she risks being branded bossy. Words like bossy send a message, don't raise your hand, or speak up. By middle school, girls are less interested in leading than boys, a trend that continues into adulthood. Together, we can encourage the girls to lead. And of course, they have these interesting, well, of course, in the settings that this is taking place is at a public school setting. So, that's the last place you want to bring your children in if you want to instill these particular characteristic traits of leadership.
Where a select few have the monopoly on truth.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who will those future people with the monopoly on truth be? We must determine who they are so we can cull them from the herd.
Yeah, we want to find bossy people. You'll find the bossy people in government, the people who are sending these children to go into the indoctrination camps, so, pointing the guns at the parents. Like, if you don't send your children there, you could be held for tourism. You can go to jail. You can go to a cage, and that child will be parentless. Now, those are, I guess, the bossy people around, if you want to look at them accurately, objectively. So they have interesting statistics which they cite. They'll say the confidence gap starts early between elementary and high school. Girls' self-esteem drops 3.5 times more than boys. Girls are twice as likely to boys to worry that leadership roles will make them seem bossy. And then girls get less airtime in class. They're called on less and interrupted more. Well, that has nothing to do with boys at all. That has nothing to do with gender at all. That has something to do with the teachers. It has something to do with the indoctrination camps, that the settings and the context of these experiences are taking place, right? Don't look at the distractions. Of course, if the girl's not being called on, it has something to do with the boy next to her. It has to do with the teacher. It has to do with the setting, with the environment. Question that. Stop questioning the children and thinking that it's because they can't adapt to that, right? Question the environment that they're sent into, forced to be into.
Consider that the girl might be thinking about the question longer or not wanting the regurgitated version of the truth.
Yeah. If you guys want more information, a lot of information on schoolings and the Peaceful Parenting pamphlet. So they're interesting advocates for this. One among is Michelle Obama. So talk about bossy. I mean, she's wife to one of the most bossiest persons in the world.
She is a lawyer, essentially. Argumentative is how she's made her bread and butter.
Right.
I'm not going to fault her for that. What's the name of the woman who heads up the Girl Scouts of America?
Right. So I forgot her.
Well, the Girl Scouts of America in general, they were making such great strides. They were being inclusive of trans members. There was that great moment in anarcho-capitalism where the girl set up outside the marijuana dispensary. That was...
Oh, yeah.
That was and now the American Heritage Girls have sprung up in protest of this, which, if you want to know if you're doing something right, it's because you're pissing off those sort of people. So, yeah, I mean, I was all for the Girl Scouts. I was almost regretful that I had never joined them as a kid, and then they go and they back something like this. Censorship, essentially, sweep the word under the rug rather than address it head on. Yeah, Timmy, why did you just call Sally bossy? What did she do to invoke that in you? No, let's just get rid of the word.
Yeah, where did you learn that from? Where did you pick that from?
Yeah.
Right? Do you understand how this makes other people feel? Teach empathy. That's something they don't teach in these public school settings. I actually, my mother and I, we put my sister, Jennifer, into the Girl Scouts for about 2 weeks. She found it boring. I mean, she did, the camping thing was of interest, but it seems she told me that the most thing that they spent their time on was on selling Girl Scout cookies. And she wasn't too ecstatic about that.
She'd already been on nature hikes with you. That's going to all seem dull and
yeah, it's and it's not they're not even homemade cookies. So it's not, and of course, I'm not trying to bash the Girl Scouts. Join all these organizations that are there, to promote, I guess, comradeship, group skills, group work, sure. But when the organization has ties to the Homeland Security, for example, they have the Girl Scouts. For example, they announced earlier, a couple of years ago, they announced a joint collaboration with the national initiative developed by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to raise awareness about cybersecurity. Interesting. Janet Napolitano created a Girl Scout preparedness patch designed to engage Girl Scouts and their families in personal preparedness for all emergencies. So for me, this sounds very similar to the Spies in 1984, in which they indoctrinated the children to become part of the Hitler Youth Group.
Wearing the wrong kind of shoes, Mommy.
Or the League of German Girls is what they called it. So whenever you add government to your affairs, to your organization, that's where it kind of goes to. So... that's something to be wary of, if you're also involved in these particular Girl Scouts organizations. I was a Boy Scout once for about a couple months until, no, I actually enjoyed it, but I guess for other reasons, Father dropped me out. But it's I still have the uniform too, which is the handle for my email address, Renegade Boy Scout.
My brother was in the Boy Scouts for a while, which was really difficult since he had type 1 diabetes, but he learned a lot of his alpha male misogyny from them, I'm sorry to say. It might have been a bad scoutmaster or something, but yeah, I wouldn't describe it as a healthy or good scene, the experience he had.
Some other advocates for this are Arne Duncan, U.S. Secretary of Education, of course, he supports subsidizing a lot of the student loans that increases the tuition rates. Of course, if the government guarantees subsidizations of these loans, that means that the schools, the universities can't afford, well, they can increase the prices, and they know they can't go down because government subsidized the cost of that. So you want to talk about why tuition rate is so costly, you can point out one of these guys who supports this initiative. His name is Arne Duncan, U.S. Secretary of Education. And another supporter is Condoleezza Rice. So again, talk about bossy. There's a list of bossy people who support this initiative. So it's kind of contradictory, kind of hypocritical, especially Condoleezza Rice and her support in invading Iraq, right? And her support in, like, there's evidence of weapons of mass destruction. We have to kick out Saddam Hussein. It's like, and you find out there was nothing there to begin with. There's no weapons of mass destruction. Just let a lot more destruction that the United States let in their own way and murdering millions of people. Destroying generations. And that I would say would be bossy. And of course you have your pop stars, Beyonce.
Yeah, her tagline being, I'm not bossy, I'm the boss. Well, good bosses don't ban things arbitrarily.
Yeah.
No potted plants on your desk, no photos of your family.
And if you want to look at an example of political privilege, status privilege, you look at Beyonce. There was a while ago where she was able to have a license to freely travel to Cuba. And of course the exception for her, because she is above everyone else, above the taxpayers, she's in a different political class altogether, is to promote the pop culture and arts. So you can't go to Cuba because it's illegal, it's criminal, but the US government can decide who can and cannot, right? If you're not within that political connection, that upper class, then sorry, tough luck. Try to go over there and they'll throw you into a cage if they find you. So a lot of interesting lists of supporters there for this initiative that in and of itself would seem kind of bossy.
Not that Jane Lynch hasn't made a career of being the bossy character type, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to teach children to be assertive, to help gain that independence, the last place, again, you want to send them to are public school settings. That's not what they teach them. They don't teach you entrepreneur skills. They don't teach you how to negotiate, how to have contracts. They don't teach you how to interact with other people in a setting that's conducive and voluntary, right? The whole environment itself is involuntary. There's a lot of ways that you can go about this and trying to make them be afraid of certain words. That's not, you're going to run into mean people. You're going to run into assholes out there, and that's inevitable. And trying to tell them that certain words just don't exist anymore. I mean, when they grow up, when they fly in the nest, when they go out there in their own lives, they're going to experience that there are still sociopaths out there, and that unfortunately their parents didn't provide them the means of how to protect themselves, to defend themselves from such, verbose attacks. So, I mean, if you want to help them, teach them how to respond to those. Teach them that don't let strangers have that kind of effect on your emotions. Don't let them have that power over you. All right? They're just words. They're just in the air. Find ways to teach them how to respond appropriately, to express themselves. Especially at a young age, to be able to say how you feel and to negotiate with your parents. I guess in the parent-child relationship, that the parents sometimes will say, it's like, especially for boys, you're not supposed to feel a certain way. You have to man up. You have to tough up. And so for girls, I mean, I'm not quite sure exactly in the area. I mean, for my sister, that's not the way we raised her. Raised her to be assertive, to be proactive. That don't worry, we have your back. You can say anything you want to say. You'd be. You'll never get in trouble for being you. Be out there, experience, but no, we always have your back. And there's no one. You should never give anyone that kind of power over your life, especially to make you feel bad. But again, let's explore the areas of why if they do feel bad, try to teach them empathy, try to teach them how to negotiate and navigate this world instead of being afraid of words, afraid of the word bossy.
And some people don't want to be leaders. Some people want to be doers. Some people want to work in a, semi-democratic group situation. Ooh, I used the D word. But, I mean, it's not a question of always having to, follow. To the credit of this article, there was a nice little blurb about the, at the end of the Ban Bossy spiel about how, oh, yes, guys can be stay-at-home moms, et cetera, et cetera. But, we're not all built for that. Some of us want to, be making or be programming, and we shouldn't be harped upon because we want to think about the question longer or, think it's not as simple as the answer that's given to us in the textbook. I mean,